Everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica on our continuing series, the Unported playlist. And I know what you're thinking. I've already done Scud Race months ago, and that is true, but this is Scud Race Plus, a very rare update that was released in Japan only to the original Scud Race, and it is a very weird update at that. Before we get too far involved, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell, and if you feel so inclined, we have a Patreon link down below if you want to support the channel. But if you hold start when you select your car on the new living room track, you're going to be able to get different vehicles. And to start, we're driving the AM2 bus with photos of the developers of the game. Now, as far as updating popular arcade games are concerned, it's always a good thing to add new tracks. San Francisco Rush did the same thing, but we are now in a house in miniature riding around a bus, and we have these rocket cars and tanks going around us, bowling pins on the ground, robots, teddy bears, rocking horses, and cats. So as far as what the point of this update was, I really don't 100% understand it. Now, it does add some other things in outside of this course that I will show you guys in a bit, but it's still the same game you know and love. If you enjoy Scud Race Plus is just going to be more of the same thing, and that is not a bad thing in this instance. And apparently it was slated to come to North America, but it never did, because if you change the region, you're going to get the North American name for this game, Super GT. But it never did come out in the US, and apparently it's still quite rare in Japan as well. So this must have just been a slight ROM update to add a couple features, and while they were doing it, they decided to add in this fun, strange, and weird course for us to check out. And you can get a strike on the bowling pins. Nothing really different happens. I've done it before, I just didn't do it in the capture, but it's just another really weird thing that you can do while you're playing Scud Race. But if you've never played this game before, I highly recommend it. Granted, the original version doesn't have a rat or a cat chasing it, but this is one of Sega's best arcade racing games of all time, and it was one that was supposed to come out on the Dreamcast. It was shown in previews before the Dreamcast even released, and then it was quietly canceled and never seen again. There's some debate whether or not Dreamcast could have handled Model 3 visuals. You know, some of the games do get downgrades, but it's not so hard to put this on the Dreamcast. Granted, the Model 3 was a completely different architecture than the Dreamcast GPU and CPU were, but with enough work you could have had it running. And it's really disappointing that Scud Race never came home, because outside of this very weird track, which is still a lot of fun, NASCAR-style oval, it would have been great to get this in our living rooms, because finding a Scud Race cabinet is extremely difficult. I haven't seen one in years. Well, luckily, and I mentioned this on the channel before, the Supermodel emulator emulates Model 3 boards almost perfectly. It's so close that it doesn't really matter if there are glitches, because they might just be little visual glitches that don't affect your overall gameplay. But the other great thing about this is if you go to the normal tracks, you can play the beginner track at the nighttime or daytime now. But if you hold down the start button when you select your transmission, we can do time attack mode. We're not racing against cars, now we're doing that classic arcade racing against a timer. And that's why I think this update actually occurred. They added in mirror courses, they had it in time attacks. As you'll see, not only are we racing this course in reverse, but we're also racing against a clock versus racing against opponents. So I think AM2 and Sega just decided to throw a fun little course with some weird characters in there. What I'll let you do now is listen to the music, because it's still that amazing Scud Race sound, and if you never watched the original video, this replaces that one. But I'll be back in just about a minute after the race is over, and I'll show you some of the more interesting and weird things that Scud Race Plus adds to the base game. But enjoy!
Watch out! Extension. Temperature is rising. Your engine temperature is rising. Extension. The track is slippery. Watch out. Tires are ready.
Extension. Final lap.
It is still the same Scud Race, though, even if it has the plus moniker on it, and beating this game within the time limit is still going to be a bit of a struggle, because it is not an easy game at all, and most of Sega's arcade racing games definitely pushed you right up to the edge of that timer. But as opposed to being a sequel to Scud Race, which would have been great, this is a nice little update and makes it the definitive version of the game and the one that you should play. Because you get the original game, you get the time attack mode, you get mirror mode for all the courses, one you can play at night, and then you get the living room oval. So if you are going to emulate this, this is definitely the version you're going to want to check out because it has way more. Because if we pick the Dodge Viper, suddenly we are racing as a cat. And you may think this is weird, but it's really not, because Sega has a long history of putting animals in their racing games that you can use. In Daytona, you could be a horse. In Mannix TT Superbike, I think you could be a sheep. I can't remember, it's been years since I played that. But Sega has been putting animal race cars in their games for a very long time, and it's fun to see in Scud Race they did that. I would say, as far as all the animals you could race as in a Sega game, racing as a cat is definitely my favorite animal of that lot. But you also get these weird things like rocket ship cars, and they all handle exactly like the cars in the main menu when you pick them. You might be in a rocket ship, but this is the hardest car in the game to steer, and it definitely still is. But each lap you get 3 boosts, and that's a different feature of this car. And these tracks are really frantic and fun. Even if you're just going in ovals, each different new unique vehicle gives it something different. We now have this tank, and we're able to shoot ping pong balls at the other cars to knock them out of the way, which makes it more of a vehicle combat race than it does just a straight race. And I would love to have known what Sega was thinking when they released this. I don't know if it was a paid update. I don't know if it was a free update, just like a ROM chip that they slotted in for arcade operators. I can't imagine people would want to pay a ton for this, because it really doesn't add that much to the game, but what it does add is weird and strange and fun. But short of that, that's Scud Race Plus. Definitely play it, especially if you like cats. Do me a huge favor, down below hit like and subscribe. We'll see you guys next Sunday for the Unported arcade game, and Tuesday and Friday for videos as well. Bye-bye.